Hello, and welcome back to Maggie's Neighborhood. This is Carolyn, your retired happy friend from Mississippi again. So on today's visit, we're going to do something really interesting. This is strawberry season in Mississippi, and we get fresh Louisiana strawberries up. And I got half a flat this past week and fixed them. So today we're having strawberry pancakes. And I'm giving you the basic, simple recipe where you can make pancakes anytime you want to. You don't have to have a pancake mix to make good pancakes. So after we make the pancakes, our craft today, or our project today, is going to be making a quilted pot holder. And the quilted pot holder is a practice run for making the baby quilt. So I'm going to show you step by step how I do my cutting out on the mat board with the rotary cutter. I'm going to show you how I put the pot holder together, how I do the quilting on the sewing machine, and then hopefully this little project is going to prepare and lay the groundwork for when we do the baby quilt, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Because I have something kind of planned that I would like to do if it works out. I want to go visit a good friend of mine who has a fabric shop right here in Ridgeland, Mississippi. And she has all kinds, everything you need for sewing, embroidery, quilting, anything you need, fabric, accessories. She teaches classes. So I went and talked to her today, and hopefully we're going to be able to work that out, that I can go to her store and interview her and show you what all she has. And then we're going to get ready to make that baby quilt. So thankful for today, we are in Lent season, and at our church we have a book we're following, A Journey to the Cross. And today they're talking about today's lesson was on gratitude, and how gratitude combats complaining. If we're grateful and we're expressing gratitude, then it's hard to complain. And so the good word for today is, in everything give thanks. Whether we're in good times or bad times, be happy for what we have and count our blessings. And if we take time to count our blessings, we don't have a whole lot to complain about most of the time. So that's the good word for today. And I want to thank every one of you who come and visit my channel and spend some of your time with me. And I appreciate it. It means so much when you click the like button or the subscribe button. When you leave a comment, I read all your comments and I try to get back to you fairly soon. And that's why we're going to do a baby quilt. I had somebody send in a comment that they would like to see a baby quilt. So that's on the schedule. So I hope you enjoyed today's visit in Maggie's neighborhood and at our house. Maisie will go for a walk. I'll show you some of our flowers that are blooming here in the spring, contributing to all this pollen that we have. My car is now yellow, but it won't last long. Pretty soon we'll be getting into hot summer weather and mosquitoes. So there again, I have to count my blessings and be sure, but just be glad that the weather is nice to be outside and we're past winter. So stay tuned. So just a reminder, be sure and share your smile with everyone you meet today, because that could be the most important thing they get today free. So it doesn't cost you anything and it means a lot to somebody else. So until next time, be kind to each other. Well, I went by our produce stand this morning and our fresh Louisiana strawberries are in, and they are wonderful. So I'm going to, what we call put up, I'm going to prepare the strawberries to go in my freezer to save them for later on. And when I take them out of the freezer later, they're going to taste just exactly the way they do right now. They are the best. So I'm going to wash them, cut the tops off of them, put them in a bowl, and what I'm going to make today while I have good fresh ones, I'm going to put a little bit of sugar on them, but I'm going to make strawberry pancakes. And if you've never had strawberry pancakes made with fresh strawberries, keep watching. Now the berries I put in my pancake mix I'm going to go ahead and chop them up into small pieces because I don't want the big berry in my batter. So I'll chop it up to be about this size. Now otherwise, the berries that are going to go on top of the straw pancakes after they're cooked, they can be a bigger size. So only the berries I'm going to put in my pancake batter, I'm going to cut in little bitty pieces. Oh, it's going to be good. So the pancakes are cooking. The back side is already brown, and oh, it smells so good in my house. I love the smell of pancakes frying, and especially the strawberries. I don't know if you can order fresh Louisiana strawberries, but if you can, but if you don't get them in your area or have them available, it is well worth it. Okay. These are done. So there we are. The pancakes are buttered. I put a pat of butter between each pancake, put some more fresh strawberries on top, and the syrup. And I like to use this is natural, real, 100% maple syrup. I don't like to get the imitation or the maple flavored syrup. I like real maple syrup. And I have my cup of milk. I'm going to sit down and enjoy these while they're hot, and I'll check back with you in a little bit. With the half flat of strawberries I had, I cut the tops off, just rinse them off with cool water, very cool water, cut them up. These I just cut in quarters and put in Ziploc bags. And so this is enough for me for a meal if I decide to have pancakes or make a cobbler. Last cobbler I made, I used 4 of my packs that I had in the freezer from year before last that I needed to go ahead and use so I could get fresh ones. But I got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 because I used one. I kept one pint out. So each one of these is just about a pint of strawberries because there are 12 pints in a flat, and I got half a flat. So if you can't use or get the Louisiana strawberries to make the pancakes and the cobbler, you can use whatever strawberries you have available in your area, because just strawberries are good. But during strawberry season, we eat them fresh as soon as we buy them. We have strawberry shortcake, strawberries over ice cream, strawberry cobbler, strawberry pancakes, you name it. We just eat them fresh. Oh, our cereal. So anyway, that's the strawberries, and we'll be so thankful that I got them and put them up while they were fresh. The project today is going to be a basic little quilting project that's going to get us in practice and get us ready to make the quilted baby quilt. So I'll tell you each step along the way so you can do it at home. It's going to be basic, simple. Our end result is going to be a pot holder. We may make 2 pot holders, but we'll see. But the pot holder is going to be quilted, and it's just a practice run to get ready for the baby quilt. So this is the fabric I'm going to use. This is out of my stash, and since it's a practice project, I'm using what I have in my stash. Then I'll decide what I want to use for the real project, which will be the baby quilt. So this is going to be the body of my pot holder. So I'm going to cut the body of the pot holder 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. This is going to be the binding edges, the strips. So we're going to go ahead and cut the body of it first. 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. And I need 2 pieces, one for the front, one for the back. So this is the cutting mat and ruler and rotary cutter that I got when I was making my quilts. So my cutting mat is 24 by 18 inches. And that's a really good size. I was happy with that. My ruler is a see-through ruler, and it is 24 by 6 inches. 6 inches by 24 inches. So I'm going to start by putting my fabric on my cutting board, line up my ruler with a straight line all the way down. So I'm going to straighten my edges. And this really is good for cutting quilt squares. So it's quick, it's easy, there's your straight edge. So now I'm going to come down and cut this edge straight. And I can match my ruler up with this mark and the mark on the other end, which will give me a straight line. And it's almost straight. I just have to square it up a little bit right there. And now I need this 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. So I'm going to put my ruler straight across at 7 1/4 on that side and 7 1/4 on this side. 7 1/4, 7 1/4. So the seam allowance on the quilt is going to be 1/4 of an inch, and that's what I found to be very standard seam allowance on all of my quilting squares. Okay. And now this one will be 7 1/4. So 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. So there's 7. This will be the 1/4. So I'm going to line this edge up along the edge and this edge up along this straight line. There's 7 1/4 on that end, 7 1/4 on that end. Okay. And I think I need a new blade for my rotary cutter. So there's the first square, and I'm going to do the second square the exact same way. And the reason I need a long ruler is I'm lining up the edge of the ruler with 7 1/4 on this end, 7 1/4 on this end. And when you line up the ruler on there, you can make a straight cut every single time. And when you're putting your squares together to make a quilt, that's very, very important to have all of your edges straight. Next, we need 4 strips that are 7 1/4 by 2 inches. So I've got a square, I've cut my square. This is 7 1/4 inches this way. So I'm going to move it up, and I have it 8 inches. So I'm going to cut this 7 1/4 inches, put my ruler on 2 inches on both ends of the cutting mat, and cut right down the 2-inch line. It's 1. Yeah, I definitely need a new cutting blade. And and put this one on 4 inches. And this one on 6 inches. Okay, so there I have my 2 squares that are 7 1/4 inches square, the 4 strips that are 7 1/4 inches by 2 inches wide. Next, I'm going to cut 4 strips 10 1/4 inches long by 2 inches wide. So 10 1/4 inches is going to be right there. So I need 10 1/4 inches wide. Ten and a fourth, 10 1/4. So I'll line my cutting edge up on 10 1/4 on both sides of the cutting mat. So the bottom edge is right along the straight edge of the cutting mat, and this is on 10 1/4 on this end, 10 1/4 on this end. And now they need to be 2 inches wide. So this will be everything lined up, and I'm going to line that up along that straight line. Cut that off. So now I'll line this edge up right along that straight line. So this is 10 1/4 this way, and I'm going to move it up so I can get my straight ruler right along, line it up on the 2 inch, 2 it this way and 2 on that side, and cut it 1, then on the 4, 2, put it on the 6 line on both ends, and on the 8 inch on both ends. Okay, so we have the 4 strips, 10 1/4 inches long by 2 inches wide. 4 strips that are 7 1/4 inches long by 2 1/2 wide, and the 2 squares. Now I need to cut the 2 batting squares. So I'm now cutting my batting 10 1/4 by 10 1/4. So this is 10 1/4 long. Now I need to come along this edge and cut this edge straight right along here. So I have this 10 1/4 all the way across. And before I make another quilt, I've got to replace my rotary blade. Okay, 10 1/4. Now I need it 10 1/4 square. So 10 1/4. I have my ruler on 10 1/4 on the bottom and 10 1/4 on the top. It's right along the straight edge on this side. And there we go. Perfect square. So this cutting mat is great when you're cutting quilting pieces. So if you're going to do it, or if you have not done quilting before and you want to, I really recommend you get a cutting mat, the straight edge ruler. I got all of this at Joann's when I first started. The ruler, and I got the rotary cutter that has the trigger handle, and that has the safety guard that comes over the blade, because these blades are super sharp. So when I cut, I squeeze the trigger, roll it down, and it cuts. But I do believe my blade needs to be changed. And I started out with a smaller one, and it just was not going to do the job. So I ended up going back and getting another one. This is a Fisker's brand. So now we're ready to go to the sewing machine and start putting it together. Now we're ready to start assembling our squares. So we're going to take the square, and this is the right side. We're taking the narrow strips first. So we're going to put right sides together, right side of the square and the right side of the strip, and put right sides together. And it doesn't matter which side you start with unless you have a pattern design that has to go in one direction. Take a 1/4 inch seam. Now my machine throat plate has a marker where a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch. So if you don't have a marker on your throat plate, you can measure from the center of your needle, which there's your needle, and where your needle goes in, measure out 1/4 inch, and put you a piece of masking tape or scotch tape or something along the edge so you can have a guideline to go by. And it makes it much easier to keep a straight line and get the rights. On the quilting squares, it's very important. Okay. And these are my little handy dandy snippers. I showed you those last time when we were sewing. I got those at Joann's. Those are Singer brand. So now I'm going to measure my seam, and I want it 1/4 inch. Now we're going to go to the other end and sew another one of the short strips on right sides together. Okay. Now we're going to take the second square and do exactly the same thing, right sides together. To go to the ironing board, and we're going to iron both of the squares. Press all of your seams open flat. Now we take one of the 10 1/4 inch strips and place it down the side, right sides together. So it's going to go down this side. So line the edges up. Be sure right sides are together. And we're going to make a 1/4 inch seam all the way down that side. So straight down the side, Be sure your edges stay together, and make sure your seam is straight, and then look underneath and be sure your seam stays pressed open as you put it through. All right. Now we have one side, and this is what it's looking like. So now take your another strip. We're going to go down the other side. Place right sides together and sew that. So sew those together and then do the same thing on the first square. Putting right sides together and stitching the 10 1/4 inch strip to that side, and I'll meet you back over here. All the strips are sewn to the square, so I just went to the ironing board and pressed everything open, and take the square of batting, place the square of batting on the wrong side of your quilt top. So now we're going to quilt this, and you can use any design you want to. This doesn't really have any particular pattern on it, so whatever design you can sew straight across, you can sew diagonal, however you want to do it. So I'm thinking I'm going to decide what kind of quilting design I want on this. So we're going to quilt this square, and then we have the other square of batting we will put on the other square that we made, and we'll quilt it the same way. So this is where your creativity comes in. If you have any decorative stitches, or you want to do zigzags. So I'm going to get started and see what happens. Because I never know what happened. All my other quilts, I didn't know until I got started what I was going to do. So let's see. And if your batting and your square doesn't line up, that's okay. We're going to put the batting on both the squares, then take both the squares back to the cutting board, use our rotary cutter, and square everything up before we sew the two squares with the batting on the back together. I used the cotton batting from Hobby Lobby, and that helps to grip my fabric of my quilt. It doesn't give as much slip, but I did go ahead and put 2 pins on the corner just to kind of hold everything together until I get it situated. So as you're going through, sometimes I have held the back of the square and kind of pull it through like that so that it won't slip. And that comes from trial and error also, and just a lot of practice. So don't worry, your first ones won't be perfect, but it will be yours. You created it, and it will be a work of art. So it's the fun and the enjoyment of the process that we're after, not a perfect product, okay? We're here to enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Now, another thing I will tell you, there at Joann's and most of the quilt shops, I think Hobby Lobby probably has it too, they do make a fabric spray. And you can get a fabric spray that is made for quilting. And you spray that on the back of your fabric, then put the batting on it, and it helps to hold the layers together so it doesn't shift. So there are just all kinds of neat things that you can use when you get into a specialty craft and hobby. So what I have decided to do is go all the way around. I have gone down this side, I went down that side, now I'm going to sew down this side and that side. Then I'm going to go across the middle and make some kind of design. But this is where your walking foot, and this is the walking foot. I had talked about that on my very first video of sewing. But this is a walking foot I got this is my new Janome sewing machine I got when I started quilting. And it does help the fabric to go through together and not shift as it goes under the presser foot. So I have finished quilting the top of my square. And what I decided to do around it, but I would start that direction, then go down that side, then go down this side, then go down this side. So whichever pattern you decide on, you could go this way and then make a square without going all the way down the strips. You could go across, any number of things. If you wanted to do a curl or get some kind of design. So create whatever you want on yours and it will be pretty. So now I've done the first one. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other square. So I have my square, the backing on it. I'm going to pin the corners and sew exactly that same pattern again on this square. And I'll meet you back. So we're almost through. I got my second square put together. It is quilted. So we're back to the cutting board and I'm going to trim up and get each square even. So I have my square on my mat and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I'm going to put my ruler on the edge of my square, get the lines all lined up where it will be straight, and cut the excess edges off. And this is why you need a cutting board and a rotary cutter for quilting. This is just almost impossible to do this easily with scissors. So there we go. Every craft has its own special tools. So now that one is squared up. It just makes it. While I'm on the cutting mat, I'm going to go ahead and put my squares together. So I have right side, put your right sides together and line up your edges. I did, not on camera, but I did decide to make a loop for the corner. So I have it made in there on my ironing board. I made it exactly the way I did the short loop on the apron last week. So it's going to be a little hanging loop. It's 2 inches wide by 5 inches long. And then I go to the ironing board, I fold that little strip in half, and then go to the sewing machine and turn under that edge and turn under that edge and bring them together and sew it down. So I'm going to, when I get to the machine, I'm going to put the hanging loop right here. I don't think I'm going to put mine in the corner. I'm going to put it on the top edge. I have the right sides together of the hot pad. I have pinned the corners to keep it steady. Now this is the loop that I made, the little hanging loop. So it is 5 inches long, 2 inches wide. I folded it in half, then folded it in half on each edge and stitched. So I'm going to make a loop with that, stick it in. I'm going to put mine on the top, not on the corner. So I'm going to put it right there in the middle and pin it down. Now I'm going to take a 1/2 inch seam all the way around, except I'm going to leave 1/2 inch open on one side. It doesn't matter which side, but one side I'm going to leave about 4 inch opening, because when we get through stitching all the way around, we're going to turn the hot pad wrong side out. Okay, 1/2 inch seam all the way around. And this is going through all the layers, all the thicknesses of the hot pad. made it all the way around. I have an opening right there on one side. So now we're going to, oh wait, before I do that I need to trim my corners. So go take your corners and trim off that whole corner. Be very, very careful not to clip the stitching line on your corners, because you don't want that to come unstitched. But this will trim out a lot of the bulk on your corners. Okay, now we're ready to turn it. We're just going to start turning it right side out. And I didn't leave my opening quite long enough, so I did not back stitch that, so I clipped it a little bit wider opening. And there we go. We're going to get all of it turned out. It's a little bit bulky, so we'll have to work at it a little bit, but it will come. And this is going to be your learning project for making the baby quilt. So next week, I'm planning to start making the baby quilt, and that will probably be a 2, possibly 3 week project. But this is practice on how to get the baby quilt started. And you have something useful and a useful project that you can use while you're practicing and learning. So we're going to turn it all the way through, push out those corners. There we go. And there's my little hanging loop on the top of it. And I'll push out that corner and push out that corner. Now if you have any stray threads or stray ends on your stitching thread, this is a good time just to go ahead and tidy everything up, clipping any threads that you may have missed. Okay, there we go. Now there's our hot pad. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the ironing board now and press this down, tuck our opening seam closed, tuck those in. Okay, I have my hot pad all pressed down nice, and I have decided to make my top stitch along the edge 5/8 inch wide, because I want to clear that seam, that thick part of the seam over there a little bit. So when we get through with this, we'll be all through with the hot pad. That's all we have to do. So on this, it would be a really clever, creative idea to embroider if you're making it for a gift, and especially if you're making it with the apron for a gift, to embroider whoever you're giving it to the initial on the top of the pad. And that way you could give a set. You could even make 2 hot pads and give the apron and 2 hot pads. So practice on this, and next week we'll start on the baby quilt. It will be a 36 by 36, I think right now, baby quilt. So I used my leftover batting that I had from another projects, from some of my quilts that I had. And one place I had to piece it because I had some small pieces of batting. So if you have to do that, you can do that on small projects like that. Put your batting here, and then wherever you need to put your other piece of batting just right snug to it. And when you stitch over it, it's going to hold it all in place. So I'm a big believer in using what I have and using up my materials that I have rather than go buying more if I possibly can. So I'll see you back in a little bit, and I hope you enjoyed this project of the quilted hot pad. Isn't that the cutest thing you've just ever seen? I'm going to come back with a needle and thread and whip this this opening closed where I turned it. I don't like that the way it turned out. So I'm just going to take a needle and thread and whip that together. And another suggestion I would make to you is go ahead and make up several of these to have in your gift stash. And then when you have a gift or somebody you need to give something to, even if it's a new neighbor or a welcome gift, you can put one of your handmade hot pads and with some food, maybe a batch of cookies or a cake that you've made for them, and make you a cute little tag. Now I do have tags, so I won't put it on this one, but I do have some tags that I ordered a good while back that has my name on it. And when I make a quilt or make one of my crocheted afghans, I have my own label that says handmade by Carolyn, and I can put a tag on it. It makes it look a little bit more special and a little bit more professional rather than just what they used to call homemade. It's handmade craft. It is something special because you made it yourself with your time and your energy and your knowledge for somebody else, and that means an awful lot. All right, there we go. Pretty spring flowers, but oh my goodness, they're putting out so much pollen. What do you think, Maisie? Beautiful dianthus blooming. Come on, Maisie. What do you see, huh? You see the flowers? Come on, let's go home.